Welcome to the homestead. This video is going to be the answer to dozens and dozens and dozens of questions that we have received about the resources that I use when I homeschool. So let's get to this. So first thing I want to talk to you about is morning time. Charlotte Mason fans, others in the classical tradition will talk about morning time, and if you don't know what that is, go out and research it, look it up. It's I love it so much. It's the first thing in the day that we do for school. We sit together, the boys and I sit together, and we read and we learn together. And it's just this very just kind of flow kind of time. Sometimes, they play with their toys, they'll build something with Lego or whatever they're doing because they need that kind of hands-on while they're listening. It does really help them listen better. So they're doing something with their hands. So that's the first thing in the morning, and it's about half an hour. Not super long, but they both enjoy it, and so do I. So the first thing I'm going to take you through is just the resources I'm using for morning time. And this is just a half an hour that the boys and I sit down together. It's very low key. Sometimes they can play while they're listening, and we just enjoy it. And I use a lot of different books as what I would call like Enrichment Studies. The first one I'm using is Speaking French with Miss Mason and Francois. And this is from Cherrydale Press. For poetry, I have read aloud poems for young people, and I'm just cherry picking kind of poems from this that I think the boys will be interested in hearing. This is only for read aloud, and I love it because it's got a whole selection of very well-known poets, and we can just enjoy them together. I found this at a thrift store for I think $1. For science, these are our read-alouds for science. I do want to specify that I have a different science curriculum for my oldest, but in the morning time, we read aloud together from really interesting science, kind of more creation, nature-based kind of stories. So we've been loving the Burgess stories, Thornton Burgess, and lately we've been reading about Blackie the Crow. When we're done with the Burgess, we're going to move on to the Hauling C. Hauling books. Now, these are amazing, amazing. Joshua read Paddle to the Sea last year and really enjoyed it. So I'm really looking forward to going through these with both of them. There's Seabird, Tree in the Trail, and Men of the Mississippi. For Bible, I really love the Child's Story Bible by Catherine Voss. For Joshua, I would definitely, he's reading from a regular, Bible, but since Caleb just turned 6, I feel like this is a really good, fun read for him in the morning, and we'll read through this most every morning, just a little section. Once in a while, we try to sing a hymn. This is not my boy's favorite thing to do, but I love to sing, and I was raised on hymns, and so once in a while I'll make them sing a hymn with me. This is a published resource that you can get from Simply Charlotte Mason, and all it is really is just the hymns laid out for you with the stanzas of each hymn, and then the melody to go along with it. A CD does come with it, so you can learn how the melody goes. Okay. For art appreciation, we're using Simply Charlotte Mason's picture portfolios. And basically, it comes with a little blurb about the artist, as well as tons of their prints. So we've really enjoyed going through Homer earlier this year, and so we've studied all of different Homer prints that have come in this set. All right, I am going to move on to the specific subjects that I'm using for Caleb this year. He just turned 6. According to the school standard, he's in kindergarten, but I really feel like he's maybe working at a first grade level, especially for math. Math, I'm using DK's Grade 1 Math Made Easy. I also have this gridded notebook from Simply Charlotte Mason, and it's just blank with grids, but a big grid for little kids to be able to write their numbers, and he loves doing this. He just writes whatever numbers he's interested in doing. Okay, handwriting without tears for Caleb's writing practice. For learning to read, I'm using All About Reading, and we're just reading through these readers. We practice reading the readers together. It comes with a whole set of flashcards and everything else, but I need simple, so we just read through the readers together. And Rod and Staff, the first readers for Rod and Staff. So language arts for Joshua. Now language arts incorporates a lot of different things. Some of those things we're doing in morning time with poetry. But for Joshua, I'm focusing on copywork. I'm focusing on spelling, as well as really trying to help him to learn to creative write, which are the things he's really struggling with, always has struggled with. So for spelling, I have Simply Charlotte Mason's Spelling Wisdom. And he has a notebook that he does his copywork in. Basically all this is quotations that a child is learning how to spell from writing the quotations, and he does the copywork from these quotations in his journal. Okay, for creative writing, I'm incorporating Writing and Rhetoric, Book 1, from Classical Academic Press. This is going to be our first time using this. We actually haven't started it yet. I had been trying to help him to write narrations, his own creative writing in his notebook, which was working for a while. We did that for about 6 months. But now that he's moving on from that, I really want to incorporate this, and we'll see how this goes. It has dictation, copywork, creative writing. It's all tending toward the classical tradition. For typing, I have Typing Instructor. Joshua loves this. This is something he does on his own. He just wants to do it on his own. I don't even really have to schedule as part of the school day. He just does it on his own. He loves it. Math. Joshua I've been through a ton of different math curriculums, but recently I knew that I was going to have to take something off my plate, and math was something that we always had struggled doing together. And it required a lot of attention from me because he struggles with math. So I decided that I was going to use Teaching Textbooks. Teaching Textbooks has a new online subscription where they can log on and do all of their work. It teaches them how to do it, gives them practice problems, and so he's doing that all on his own now. For history, I'm using Simply Charlotte Mason's Study Guide for the Middle Ages. And I'm incorporating a bunch of different literature into it. Some of my favorites that it suggests for reading is The Cathedral and Castle by David Macaulay. These are excellent books. I'm also using the Kingfisher History Encyclopedia. So when we're reading about something, I love this book because it incorporates pictures into our study, which our reading mostly does not for history. So we can look things up in the encyclopedia and see pictures. I'm also using Map Trek, so wherever we're reading about in history, we can look it up. This book lays out everything historically. All the maps are historical throughout history. Also, to help our studies and provide us with pictures of actual historical items, I'm using The Stuff They Left Behind from the Middle Ages from Simply Charlotte Mason. These are some of our books that we're reading. We haven't started this yet. This is going to be coming up. different lives, biographies of different lives of people, religious figures in history. This is just one of our books, historical fiction that is incorporated. Adam of the Road. There's a bunch of different ones in the Simply Charlotte Mason study guide that incorporates different, and it lays it out for you. Castle with Many Rooms. This is also from Simply Charlotte Mason. This is their main historical text. Also, we're incorporating the Book of Centuries this year. And so I just took a blank notebook and filled it out in a grid chronologically so Joshua could add little points of interest throughout history, what he's learning. Now, geography, I have broken down into two different sections. This is the section that is really catered more toward Caleb. This is the pile catered more toward Joshua. But we are incorporating sometimes, not all the time, geography into our morning time so that Caleb can learn a little bit too. And we're studying Asia and the Middle East this year. So for him, I've incorporated some read-alouds from different countries in Asia, as well as this coloring book around the world. So when we're reading, he can pick a map of wherever we're reading about. It doesn't incorporate all of the countries in the whole world, but you know, different selections of more well-known countries. And it's a good coloring book for kids. And so we got read-alouds. I've also got this DK Geography of the World, which incorporates pictures of different cultures, just different places throughout. So you can look up any country. And then my favorite book is Maps. I love this book. And we've had this for a while, but we look at it all the time. And whatever country you're studying, oh, I opened to the US. It shows pictures of the things that are most well known in that area of the world. And it's like that for every country. And this beautiful book, I mean, I invested in this years ago. I love it. For geography for Joshua, I'm incorporating the Simply Charlotte Mason study guides for the Middle East and Asia. And in those study guides, they use the Material World and the Hungry Planet as their main textbooks. Okay. Science for Joshua. I'm using the Answers in Genesis God's Design series. This is the second year we've been using it. We did the heavens last year, and heavens and planet Earth last year. So this year we're doing chemistry and ecology, and I have properties of matter and atoms and molecules. There is another text in the chemistry and ecology series. It's the actual ecology book, but we're not doing that this year. We've studied ecosystems before, so I'm not going to be redundant and use it again. We also use this science encyclopedia. We've used this a lot in previous years, and again, it's just different topics that you're studying that you can look up whatever you're interested in science. It's really good for kids. For hands-on projects, we really like the Tinker Crate, and it's a subscription. It comes every month, and it has everything you need, so you don't have to track down all your science experiment materials, which is amazing. So when it comes to science experiments, we actually do not even really do the experiments laid out in here. We study them and try to explain why and how they would work, but we don't collect all the materials and actually do every single one. It's just too much, and I think it's a time suck because you don't always have everything. So, all right, that is it. That's all the subjects. So I hope you made it through with me, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you have questions or comments, maybe tell me what you use in the comments. I'd love to hear that too. Okay, so this has been part 1 of what I use for homeschool. If you're interested in part 2, it's going to be how I pull all of this together and how I learned how to do that, and we'll have some different resources that you could do it too if you're interested in just kind of being more eclectic and pulling together your own resources to use for school. And then we'll also talk about price and how some different ways that I've been able to save money in purchasing my books for school. So leave a comment and we'll see you next time on the Homestead.